Okay, welcome to FBB Forum. Please like and subscribe to this page and share with friends. I'm very pleased to welcome the beautiful IFBB Pro female bodybuilder, Asha Hadley. Sorry, I get your name right. Asha qualified for the Olympia by winning the Savannah Pro Show this year, and she turned pro in 2012 in women's physique at the 2012 NPC Nationals. And thank you very much for joining me, Asha. I really appreciate it.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So I wanted to start with just a few questions about how you got started in bodybuilding. And so did you have an athletic or sports background before you started in women's bodybuilding?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. I played sports in high school. I played volleyball and softball. And kind of before that, growing up, my parents were always into, living a healthy lifestyle, being physically active. So it kind of just tied into, doing something physical, I guess you can say.
Okay, that's great. Very cool. What kind of sports in high school did you do?
Volleyball and softball.
Volleyball and softball. That's great. Um, and how did you get started in bodybuilding, and who convinced you to do your first contest?
It kind of happened by chance, really. I ran into or had a friend at the gym, and she went to another gym and invited me out there. And most of the people that worked out at that gym were either competing or training to play collegiate sports.
Okay.
So I kind of I was way out of college by then. So I kind of jumped in with the bodybuilding or the competing crew and thought, hey, I'll give it a chance. I'll see, what this is like, and I'll, try to do a show. So I went through the prep and did my very first show in 2011.
2011, very cool. And then you turned pro in 2012, so not long after that.
Yeah, I did that very first show. And with that show, I believe I competed or qualified for nationals. I competed in one nationals, and actually that would be 2010 was my first show. Okay. And qualified for nationals an additional year because I switched to physique. I started in figure.
Okay.
And I won my pro card with that second national show in physique.
Oh, that's terrific. That's great. I was curious, like, when did you first kind of feel your kind of aha, I belong here in the gym kind of moment? Because I think that people kind of feel intimidated by gyms sometimes because they're not familiar with the equipment, or they're just intimidated by the people around them and stuff there.
I really don't know that I had an aha moment. Playing sports in high school, we were in the gym for conditioning and things like that. So I guess from an earlier age, I felt comfortable in the gym.
Good.
And like I said, my background was always, emphasizing fitness and health. So that was a place where I liked to be, I found out and felt. Never really felt uncomfortable or intimidated. I just kind of, I guess at the time, whatever time frame it was, I just kind of stayed in my lane.
Sure.
But was always trying to do a little bit more or learn a little bit more because it was fascinating to me.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that prepared you well for a bodybuilding career, because you have to spend a lot of time in the gym. That's great. Thank you. I was just curious, like, was it tough for you to get up on stage in a bikini for the first time? Because it seems like it would be kind of nerve-wracking. And do you still kind of feel nervous these days up on stage, or are you more used to it now?
I don't believe it was nerve-wracking for me. Coming from and growing up in Miami, we're always in bikinis at the beach.
Yeah, that's true.
It's, being in a different crowd, I guess you could say. And at that time, you feel comfortable with your physique, and you feel very proud of what you have accomplished. So it's easier, I guess, to show off, what you've been working for and whatever you're wearing. So it was never really an issue for me being uncomfortable on stage or even being nervous.
Okay.
In front of people. I still don't get really nervous. I think everybody has some degree of, nervousness before they go, but
Yeah.
for me, it's kind of like jumping into a cold pool. You're going to do it, just, go. And once you get in, you're fine.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's really good. And it's good that you felt comfortable like that. I think that's a good point. Like people from Florida maybe are a little bit used to being in a bikini or just wearing a tank top, year round or whatever. So
Yeah, being a little uncovered.
yeah, exactly. And even, like I'm in Tampa and even the wintertime here is warm. So
Yeah.
so it's really all year round. Um, so I was going to ask you a few questions about prep, and I was curious, like, what is the toughest aspect of competition prep for you?
Um, I would say a lengthy prep is probably one of the tough things, only because it becomes more of a mental challenge, at
Yeah.
least for me. And I'm kind of going through that right now. I've gone through, this will be my third show in about 4 months, I would say.
Oh,
So I've
wow.
been
Yeah.
prepping for a while. And you get kind of tired, I guess, mentally of doing, the workouts and the diet and things like that. And it's physically, I just kind of go because I know what to do, but mentally I'm kind of ready to be done. So that's probably the challenge for me, is staying in it mentally.
Yeah, I understand that. Do you kind of like a prep brain kind of thing I've heard about, where
Mhm.
you're depleted and you're just tired all the time, and do you kind of feel that?
Yeah, definitely. It gets
Yeah.
to that point. You have your ups and downs, but there's always that degree of fatigue that's gonna get you. And I think, I've been competing for over 10 years. I kind of am used to it.
Hmm.
So you just know what to do with your body, your body. So
Yeah, you've actually had quite a bit of longevity as a pro in the sport, which is really cool. Yeah. Um, I was curious, like, what I'm sorry, food item kind of lingers in your head waiting for the prep to end? Because I don't know, I personally think the bodybuilding diet would be really tough to deal with and contend with.
mhm. Yeah, it does get very monotonous. But that kind of falls into, you know what you're doing, you know what you need to do. So you just do it without complaint most of the time. But the things that I really tend to think about, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is like French fries.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
That's an all-time favorite for me.
Yeah.
But a weird thing that happens is you start thinking about normal food. Like after the Savannah Pro, I couldn't eat enough salads.
Really?
Um,
Oh.
for some reason, I just wanted salads.
Uh-huh.
Or things like, a turkey sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You start craving normal people food, I guess, like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I understand that. And that's not like a salad's not even a cheap food per se, or what
Right,
not what you would perceive as a cheap food, but yeah, you can't necessarily eat that so much when you're
right.
prepping and stuff. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. That's interesting. Yeah. Um, I was wondering, do you have a prep coach now, and what advice can you give to aspiring pros who are seeking a prep coach?
My coach now is Trey Hodge. He's a great coach. He got me through the Rising Phoenix last year. Um, has been coaching me through my off season and through this season.
Okay.
So we'll be heading into the Olympia in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And for people looking for a coach, I think that you should be looking for a relationship, really, versus what that person does or what they have produced.
Mm-hmm.
Because with bodybuilding, it's a lot of the cream rises to the top, um, and coaches will, or people, I guess, in the nowadays, you see the best products sometimes. So you don't always see the negative side.
Sure.
But with a coach, you need to have somebody that you can communicate with. You feel that they give you, what you're giving them per se,
Hmm.
as far as following their plan and getting yourself ready. Um, but it's it's like I said, it's finding a relationship, somebody that you feel comfortable talking to, somebody that you feel is knowledgeable about the sport
Hmm.
too, and tracking other people. Finding a coach that coaches people in your division, I think,
Hmm.
is another thing to consider, because you coach a bikini athlete and you coach a bodybuilder. We're very different with our
Yeah,
preps,
that's
and
true.
we both have to be on a diet and work out, but there's a lot of nuanced things that need to be considered very differently, or
Sure.
even men. So
Yeah, I totally understand that. And you're seeking different results too. I mean, just different look and everything. So that really makes sense. Yeah, and I think that from it, I've heard from other bodybuilders, just the having that open kind of two-way communication is really important with a coach too.
mhm, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I was curious, do you have a posing coach? Because I think your posing skills are really good. So do you have a
Thank you.
posing coach now? Oh, you're welcome.
My posing coach is Christina. She's a fellow uh, women's bodybuilder, fellow Windsor strength athlete.
Great.
So I got with her this season. She's been amazing. I actually went out to Vegas to work with her once. She and her boyfriend both coach, but I mainly work with her, and she's been so great all season.
Really? That's terrific. What's her last name?
Mendoza.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's terrific. Yeah. Oh, her posing is really good. So yeah, that's great that you're working with her.
Yeah, she's been amazing this season. So
Yeah. She took a break this season, didn't she? Or I haven't seen
mhm.
her
Yeah,
compete.
she's
Yeah.
been off. Hopefully she'll come back next season because
Mm-hmm.
she's got a great physique. Like you said, her posing is great.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she'll do well when she comes back.
That's great. No, that's terrific. Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah.
Um, so I was going to talk a little bit about your work and your schooling too. And I know that you're a Gator alum. You have your Gator diploma back there behind you.
Go
What did
Gators.
you? Yeah, go Gators. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What did you study at University of Florida?
I got a bachelor's in food science and dietetics. So I basically knew I was going to be a dietitian, so studied that all through school.
That's great. And that's probably helped you, I bet, with doing your diet plan for bodybuilding, right? I imagine.
Not as much as you would think.
Hmm. Yeah.
I leave those two things separate. I understand calculating, macros and things like that, but when it comes to what certain foods do to my body, um, I am not very in tune with that
Hmm.
for
I
some reason.
understand. Okay, I understand that. And I think it's good to have a coach too to kind of be that third
Mhm.
person to kind of help guide you. And yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't put myself on a diet for some reason. I mean, I'll have people come into my office and they're like, I know what to eat, but I need somebody to tell me. And I tell them, I know exactly what you mean because it's the same thing with me. I'm a bodybuilder. I should know what to eat. I should be able to put myself on a diet and prep myself, but I can't. So
hmm.
something about having that outside input.
I understand that. It like an objective input,
Mhm.
yeah, from that third party. I think that makes sense. Yeah. And how long have you been working as a dietitian, and what would you say is the most challenging aspect of your career?
I've been working as a dietitian for, gosh, I want to say maybe like 18 or 19 years now.
Hmm.
Makes me seem old, but it's been a while. And I've worked in different areas of nutrition. I worked in hospitals. I've worked currently work with outpatients or in a clinic. I've worked with dialysis patients.
Hmm.
So it's a lot. One of the more challenging things about it, I think, is a lot of times dealing with people's expectations of what happens
Hmm.
with their overall health, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Um, working in the area that I'm in now, I get a lot of people that, just want to be healthy and lose weight. And you get to a certain part of your life where you just can't roll through the drive-through a couple times a week and not work out and not have that show up on your body. When
Mhm.
you're younger in your 20s, that you can get away with those types of things. But, as you age, it actually gets harder, to manage your overall health. And it's explaining that to people and getting them to see, how important or how nutrition affects really your overall life.
Yeah. There's a strong kind of mind body connection, I think, when it comes to diet too. And I do
Mhm.
talk to your patients about that too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, nutrition is we're still learning a lot about nutrition. Um, and I think some of the newer stuff is, like you said, the mind body connection, um, the gut brain connection, those types of things. Getting people to know that if you eat crappy foods, you may feel bad, and you
Mhm.
don't realize how bad you're feeling until you change how you eat and you start feeling better.
Yeah, I understand that. Interesting. I was curious too, have you uh as a dietitian, have you ever worked with bodybuilders to help them with their prep diet and that kind of stuff, or their prep nutrition?
I really try to stay out of that
Yeah.
area.
hmm
People have asked me to prep them, and I dabbled in it in the past, but it's not for me. I
hmm
stick more with the clinical stuff, which
Sure.
I'm more comfortable with, and I enjoy more than um, dealing with athletes or bodybuilders, I should say.
Sure. I understand that. Yeah. And I was curious, how have you juggled your bodybuilding career with your dietitian career? Has it been kind of tough to maintain in terms of, you know, um, just time and just work-life balance?
Fortunately, it's been very easy. I I work part-time, so I'm in the office 3 days a week for half a day. So I get, most days out of the office.
Yeah.
In the past, when I've worked full-time, I was still able to manage. It's just a few more hours of work during the week and making sure you train and eat right. But I think a lot of it is mindset and planning. You've got to plan for the time that you have.
Hmm.
So if you've got, a full-time job, then you have to make sure that you've got all your meals ready to go because you have less time to cook. Manage your cardio days or your weight training. On days that I go into the clinic, I'm up at 4:15 to do cardio, my morning cardio.
Okay.
Home, eat, go to the gym, go to bed, do it all over again. Days
Sure.
I'm not in clinic, I'll get up a little bit later so I can get a little bit more sleep on those days. So it's
Wow.
just managing all of it.
That's early. Wow, 4:15. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's true. That's cool. Do you feel like you get enough sleep generally?
Um, right now, no,
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah.
sleep is very important to me. So I'm definitely trying to get that 8 hours every night.
Okay.
So I'm in
Yeah.
bed, bed probably 8 o'clock
Wow.
most
Yeah.
nights.
That's good to get that much sleep. I think that's important for your health overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you're a top level athlete of any type of sport, all those little things matter. You got to make sure you sleep right, you drink enough water, you eat right. Recovery methods, things like that. All of that shows up, especially with us on stage.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that. Yeah. And yeah, definitely. So my next few questions are about competition
Mhm.
and like I mentioned, I'm excited about seeing you at the Olympia this year. How many times have you competed in the Olympia?
This is going to be my third Olympia. My second as a bodybuilder. First one was in women's physique.
Great, very cool. That's pretty exciting to get back to Vegas again. I wish it would come back to Orlando just for selfish reasons because I'm in Tampa, so it's easier to drive there.
I liked it in Orlando too, so hopefully I'll move it back or maybe alternate something.
Alternate would be nice. Yeah, it's a little more kid friendly in Orlando too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and when did you make the switch from women's physique to women's bodybuilding? And can you give any advice to women who want to make that switch?
I made the switch after an extended break that I took. So after the 2016 Olympia that I did in women's physique, I decided I'll take a year off. That year turned into 4 years.
Wow.
Um, and I really thought I was done. I was retired. And my husband actually convinced me to come back to the sport and come back in women's bodybuilding because
Great.
it was making a resurgence, especially with Wings of Strength.
Yeah.
So I told him, oh, I'll give it a try. Um, and that was the year that I came back. I won the Savannah Pro and um, ended up in that first Miss Olympia back because they had taken Miss Olympia out. So 2020 was the first year Miss Olympia was back and I was there in bodybuilding.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, you really, I think you did look great that year. It's good that you came back again. And
Thank you.
and I think, yeah, just with your physique, I think you just kind of belong in women's bodybuilding. I think you do well in that stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's something that's evolved with time. Obviously, I mean, if you look at a picture of me in my first show, um, obviously I didn't have the same amount of muscle. So over the years, the muscle has increased. And I guess with me and my genetic makeup, putting on that muscle versus trying to keep it small and compact for women's physique was a lot better for me.
Hmm.
So I'm able to, work out to my fullest potential and grow and have it be rewarded on stage.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely the right spot for you. Yeah, I'm really pleased as a fan that, women's bodybuilding came back and yeah, Wings of Strength has been terrific to kind of get the sport going up again, started up again, their division. So that's yeah. So you won Savannah Pro twice now, right? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, great.
2000 and 2022.
That's great. That's terrific. Yeah. I need to get to that show eventually. I was wondering, what feedback are you getting from judges about where to improve your physique?
Um, it really varies from show to show. I've gotten um, feedback on having my lats a little bit bigger or come down a little bit lower if that's possible on my body. Legs come in a little bit more conditioned. Um, Size, obviously, that was more in the beginning, more so now. Um, what else? Suit adjustments that I need to make. Um, Sometimes overall fullness, like in my Rising Phoenix show that I just did. I didn't come in, at least I felt, as full as I should have. So I
Hmm.
was a little flat in that show.
Okay.
And that was something that was commented on. But when you're competing and you're trying to nail that conditioning for that spot of time, sometimes it's difficult. So
How tall are you?
5'8".
I was curious, do you think being a little bit taller than some of the other women, does that make it tougher because to fill in your physique?
It
To
definitely is more challenging.
Mhm.
Having longer muscle bellies, you have to have much bigger muscle bellies. So if you compare me when I do, when I flex and I stand next to Michaela Aycock, who's, you know, I don't want to say a foot shorter than me, but she's much shorter than me.
Yeah.
Um, for her, or even watching her squat, I mean, the distance she has to travel is not nearly as far as I have to travel.
Hmm.
So it's a lot easier to build those shorter appendages and have that show.
Hmm.
Not saying that that's an excuse for us taller girls, but it's harder to look bigger.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed that too with just comparisons. Like in the last few years in the division, and yeah, you definitely look tall on stage. I think. So yeah. No, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, there's a few tall girls. Chelsea's also pretty tall, Chelsea Dion.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
so I mean, I guess the more tall girls, the better,
Yeah, that's
because
true.
they have something to compare us to
Mhm.
versus, just one tall person out there. But um, yeah, it can be challenging to kind of show off that muscle size when you're taller.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I was curious, what is your favorite muscle group and which muscle group do you think needs improvement, the most improvement?
Um, right now, I would say what needs most improvement. Honestly, I think I was looking at my abs, and I think those need a little bit of work because I was slacking on them, or training them a little less because I didn't want them to become too um, wide or blocky, and I think
Sure.
I went too far the other way. So that's something I'll probably be working on in the off season,
Mhm.
to get some of that tightness back.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
the most improved area I think is going to be my quads and my hamstrings, especially my hamstrings.
Yeah.
Um, I've really kind of put a lot of focus into working those and making sure that you can see a lot of the separation in there and
Hmm.
detail in my glutes and hams. And that's really come out a lot lately. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's terrific. Yeah. No, I've noticed that too with this year's shows and your abs. I think your abs are kind of legendary. They're pretty amazing. So
It's a high standard for me to maintain. So I gotta make sure they stay right.
that's true. Yeah, I totally understand that. Um, my last few questions are just kind of more miscellaneous, and I was curious, like, what would you do to improve the sport of bodybuilding, and what would you do as if you were in a leadership position? How would you make the sport better?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I think that just advertising and FaceTime is probably the best way. It's hard these days because everybody's so critical of everything, and with bodybuilding, if you put it out into the mainstream, I think you're asking to get picked on for certain things.
Hmm.
Uh, but I do think that just advertising or trying to get it more into the mainstream would be something that would be great. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people are always like, it used to be on ESPN, and we'd love to see it on ESPN. So, I don't know how that works, but I think that getting it back onto television. I know that they do pay-per-view now, which is great.
Hmm.
Uh, and there's a lot of coverage on YouTube. So, that's kind of like, I guess, the new media for bodybuilding,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
getting into the forefront, um, doing, more educational things to kind of get people interested and their interest peaked, into competing, getting the athletes out to do things with people. I know we're all individual people and we've got our own things going on, but
Hmm.
having ambassadors of the sport, I think would be a good idea too, to have.
And your Wings of Strength ambassador currently, is that right?
Yes, yes.
What do you think about that? Do you enjoy doing that?
I love it. I love when I get to go to shows and work the booth and meet people. Um, it's something that I take pretty seriously because like I was saying, I like to be a good ambassador of the sport.
Yeah.
I like to show people, who we are and what we're like.
Yeah, sure.
Especially those of us that are more approachable and want to, you know, be around the public or talk to the public or interact with the public, about bodybuilding, whether it's curiosity, fans, etc. The more knowledge I think we can impart about it, or anything like that, will get butts and seats at shows or more people on stage.
That's terrific. I think that's great. Yeah. And I think Wings of Strength Ambassador program has been really good for the sport overall. Um, and what you mentioned about TV, I find it interesting with like CrossFit is on CBS Sports Network, but with all those hours of programming that ESPN and CBS Sports and all these sports networks have, I just surprised that bodybuilding's not back on TV again, and it was back in the 80s and 90s. So as a fan, I would love to see that come back to TV just to expose more people to the sport, and get more people interested. So
Definitely.
yeah, and I don't know what it takes to get there, or what kind of TV deals need to be worked out, but I hope that maybe will come true at some point, but I don't
Hopefully.
know. um, I was curious, do you suffer from any kind of body dysmorphia? And if so, how do you cope with it? Because I think a lot of bodybuilders do.
I think it's kind of standard.
Hmm.
We all think we're too small, or we're not big enough or lean enough. Um, I mean, as far as the clinical sense, I don't think so. But you asked me about parts that I'd want to improve on. You know, most people will look at my abs and say those are, amazing, and I'm like, no, I need to, tighten them up a bit, or I
Sure.
need to see, this separation here. So it's kind of seeing your body as something that it's not, or something that's objective. You're trying to, carve a sculpture, basically.
Hmm.
And you're looking at it, and you're chiseling away at it, and you're looking at little pieces that can improve. So
Hmm.
uh, I think you kind of have to have that view of yourself, where you're not really complete.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
you know, taking that to the extreme, like I said, a clinical sense, I don't know that a lot of bodybuilders have that. But we do have a drive to kind of always look better or be better in some sense. And that's probably true with a lot of athletes.
Yeah, I think so too. Do you find it tough to be in your off-season shape and just like pining for those leaner days? Because I've heard that from several people too.
It is a challenge, and I would say it's more mental than physical, although
Hmm.
physically it can be hard to kind of, at least for bodybuilders, I think, carry our off-season weight.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, a lot of times you get focused on how you look at your best.
Hmm.
And that's something that I think over the years, I've learned to kind of manage and understand that it's a process. It's not just prep and stage. It's the off season, prep, and stage. So you've got several different looks. Like I have several different wardrobes. I've
Yeah,
got
that's
two
true.
sizes of clothes to wear. I've got prep and in-season clothes, and I've got off-season clothes. Um, so you really have to know that to have one, you have to have the other, really.
Yeah, that's true. And um, that's one thing I think I find fascinating about bodybuilding is that you guys are always evolving and you're always trying to improve too. But it's not necessarily, you can't really stay lean year round because it's not really very healthy for one thing, but also you want to put on more muscle too to improve for next year. So, but I don't know if general public realizes that, so it's kind of an education kind of thing, I think, too.
Yeah, definitely. You have to eat to grow, like they say. So during that off season, you're trying to put on as much muscle as possible, because during prep, you're inevitably going to lose a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, so you want to have some to spare,
Hmm.
and hopefully some extra from, well, if that's your goal, from your off season.
Mm. Yeah, I think the off season look often looks really good too. I think it's even from the fans. I don't think the fans necessarily even realize that. Yeah, I don't know, but that's just my opinion. So I was curious, just for a final question, is there anything that I neglected to ask that you'd like to bring up for the audience?
Ooh, I don't think so. I don't know. You're the host, so.
Oh, well, yeah, no, that's cool though. I really appreciate you joining me. And One thing I would like to do is include your Instagram down in the description and your coaches too. So I'll include Trey and Christina down there too. Um, but I just want to wish you best of luck with the Olympia coming up, what, December 17th, right?
Thank you. Mine's actually going to be on the 16th. So
On the 16th?
bodybuilders go on Friday. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so excited for you and hope you place really well. I think you're going to do terrific.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining me here. And just wanted to encourage again, folks to like and subscribe to FBB Forum. But thanks again, Asha. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.